Peace, peace, family. You are now tuned in to G Consciousness Live. What's going on out there? I should be laying down, but as y'all know, it's work time. Yes, I'm running in the night tonight, running all night into the morning. So I got to take a trip 3 hours away and 3 hours back. But I wanted to share this video I did on Lex Vortex television, and so I'm going to do so. It's not that long, but I'm going to mirror it on my page so you guys can check it out. We did this when he came to St. Louis, Missouri. We broke bread. Excuse me, I'm tired. Broke bread and basically shot this interview on Lex Vortex television. So let me share the link. Share this link real quick and jump over to Google Plus, and then start the video. Real quick. Alright. Alright, so cool. I shared that. Now, let me go on Facebook and share likewise. And then we'll get started with the video. And it shouldn't be that long because I'm not going to be that long. I really need to be laying down before I get started to work. But I always got some other stuff in my mind and always trying to edify. Always trying to edify. Alright, so let me share this on Facebook. Alright, paste that right there. Alright, so we got that on Facebook. Post that, and then let's post it in a couple more groups, and then we'll go ahead and go with it. Go with it. Make sure y'all check out the show we did tonight on BEC, Black Empowerment Christianity, what we did with urban apologetics. And tonight we basically dealt with Divine Ron Prospect on his view on how he views Deuteronomy 28 and 68. We dealt with a lot of that information. Go to BC Blog Talk Radio where we did that. You can go to my page and check it out on Google Plus, or you can check it out on my Facebook page, Laron G Consciousness. Consciousness is spelled with a K. Make sure you guys also don't forget to click and subscribe and hit the indication button so you can be indicated when I am coming on. I get an indication when I'm coming on. Somebody hit me in the inbox. Let me see who this is. So let me so let me go and let me go and handle this real quick and post in here. Then we'll start back. Uh, Hold on for a minute. Trying to work this. All right, copy that right there. That didn't work right. Hold on, guys. What is up with this? Uh, I'm on this surface and this thing be giving me problems sometimes. It work good sometimes and it be acting funny. Okay, I got it to work. So okay, post that there and then come over here. All right, so there we go. And then, yeah, so make sure you guys go check that out. Also, check out my Blog Talk Radio. Uh, I'm lost for words right now. Check out G Consciousness Radio. Now, what's funny is that we had a show dealing with Deuteronomy 28 the other night, Monday and Tuesday actually, and we had a War the Swordsman. We also had Aparion and I believe Azaria, another brother that was on there. And we also had some brothers come through, Faithful to God, and some other people come through. And man, I'm telling you, we had Black Jesus come through. Minister Blanche, Black Jesus came through. What was that? Tuesday, I believe. I believe it was Tuesday, yeah. And the most funniest thing was that um, when he was talking to a water swordsman, it was just too funny. What's going on? Who is that?
It's me, man, Kev.
What's up, Kevin Kev?
What's going on?
Chilling. Yeah, but the funniest thing was that when he came through, he he basically went off on a water swordsman. It was so funny. Matter of fact, we had Kevin G over there just as well too, because he called in on my phone and I clicked him in on three-way. But when he got so confused that he said, "Oh man, I can't think right now." And so those that know Award the Swordsman from Debate Talk for You and other shows, it was the most funniest thing to hear Award the Swordsman that was getting hit up with so much stuff and asked so many questions, and he wasn't responsive to it. To say, you ask him a question, and he said, "I can't think right now." So I started laughing, and I was like, "You can't think right now." So it was just like, it was hilarious, man. And I had never seen this guy act like that. I never seen him respond like that. I mean, man, it was the funniest thing ever. So, man, make sure y'all go and check that out. I can't wait to talk to Sal Showtime on Debate Talk for You. Make sure y'all click and subscribe on Sal Showtime on his YouTube page as well as on Blog Talk Radio. Sal Showtime Debate Talk for You. That's what it's called, Debate Talk for You. Make sure y'all subscribe to that. And make sure y'all hear the season opening that's going to be coming up. I believe it's Might be next Friday, I believe. Might be before then. I'll find out, but you will get the post from me the moment I hear a little bit more about it. But he will be opening up this September, opening the seasoning back up, and debate talk for you will be open, so you can hear debates, classes, and we will be present on debate talk for you a lot this season. So look forward to hearing us. Faithful to God, also G Man, also Vocab, and a couple of other brothers. So we will mix it up. We're gonna have a couple of surprises for you. Maybe we can get some brothers on there that deals with the text that cause some controversy, so we can have more debates and bring out a lot of truth and a lot of things and expose a lot of the the things that are not true. So this video is basically concerning me and Vortex. As y'all know, we basically hooked up, linked up. Me and Vortex, we have a lot that we disagree about. You know, for the most part. But he came to St. Louis. We hooked up, and it was a great time. Excuse me, I'm sorry. We had a good time. We fellowship. And broke bread, and you know, I think that for the most part, I think that at the end of the day, y'all know that me and Vortex really did not see eye to eye about a lot of stuff, and we still don't see eye to eye about a lot of stuff. But we set aside our differences, and when he came in town, I really, made sure that he had a pleasant stay in St. Louis, and appreciate him coming through, you know, and we was enemies. We was definitely enemies. You know what I'm saying? And I guess when but we have to be willing to mature and get ourselves together and really get past a lot of things. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a lot of things that we don't see eye to eye on, but y'all know that I'm really about this thing for real. I just don't speak this thing or talk these things. This is my heart desire. Is to see people blessed. I don't care who it is, or I got people that hate me, they don't like me, but and I've said some hateful things to them probably, but for the most part, at the end of the day, I'm really about helping people and really want to see people make it. And I don't want to hate on anybody. I want to see everybody make it. You know what I'm saying? And everybody, doing well. So that's just my heart. So I'm really about this. I'm not about taking from the people, but trying to give to the people, and that's just me, Um, I'm not perfect, but at the same time, I do know that I have to be a man that is able to forgive and also to bless. So that's a lot of that took place when Vortex came. We was able to mend some things and really just get some understanding. And I'll do that with anybody. That's just not Vortex. I'll do that with anybody. That's just me. That's the way I'm built. So I don't want nobody to feel no ill will, about anything, you know, it's just that's just how it's supposed to be. You got something going on with somebody, try to mend that thing and get that thing together. You're gonna run into that person. So when you run into that person, just be willing to mend that thing and get that thing together. I'm pretty sure that we are men, and that's something that we need to do. So yeah, we got up and we shot this footage, and it was some cool footage that we shot. So I really wanted to share some of that footage, and then speak on it a little bit. Um, Kevin G, what's going on with you though, brother?
Hey, not much, man.
Hey,
Just
not much.
listening on.
Listening on.
See what's going on.
Hey, what's going on? Just chilling, man. Just chilling for real. Yeah. So let me see something. Let me get up out of this because I don't want to be doing too many things all at once. Um, yeah, I had a brother that threatened me. And I posted on my Facebook, but it was funny because he told me that he put in work and told me to quit playing with him and stop talking about Ronnie, Lil Ron. And what was funny about it was, is I'm just dealing with the information, but these guys get mad and you say quit playing with him and being faithful to God and your little Christian buddies. That's what he said. So I asked him. I was like, he said he put in work. So I asked him. I was like, well, you know, I asked him, would if he do put in work, that I'm willing to hire him. I'm looking for somebody that's working. Would he be willing to work on the Sabbath? You know. So it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? You got brothers out there that say they put in work. We got plenty of work for you. It's just, are you willing to work on the Sabbath? And he hasn't responded back yet. So let's get to this. Let's get to it. Get to the business. Let me screen share this. Go to YouTube. Hold on for a minute. I got the biggest headache for real, to keep it real. Uh, Come on. What is this about? All right, let me see. What is this about? I'm freezing up and carrying on. Yeah, it went out a little bit. Can y'all hear me? Make sure I can be heard because I went out a little bit. Having a little bit of problems over here. I don't know what the deal is with this broadcast, but let me check on some things real quick. All right, up out of here. Give me a minute. Something ain't right. Let's see, can we do it this way? Get the history. All right, this is it.
Oh, yeah. This is Pothole Town right here. Area.
All right, so let's jump back here.
I'm really into this car, but how do I know if I'm getting a good deal? I tell True Car my zip and which car I want, and True Car.
All right, so this is it right here. Then let's go back and let's start sharing this and get to the point. All right, jump back over here like that, and then let's share.
Alright. Peace.
Peace, everybody. I'm chilling here with none other than G Consciousness, LeBron G. Campbell. Welcome to Vortex Television, and we just gonna sit here and build a little quick with LeBron, man, to see what's up with the people, man.
What's going on, people? How y'all doing out there?
All right, LeBron G. Campbell. You know he is the
Let me cut this TV down.
hold on. Yeah. Ron G. Campbell, you know he is the warrior Christian, the comedic killer, the Amara squad murderer. No, so I'm just being kind of controversial. So LeBron, tell us about what you think about the recent conversations with on evolution, like the Amara squad and Dr. Mahat. What happened with Young Pharaoh? What happened between me and Dr. Mahat? And this whole evolution and everything, man.
I think that for the most part, we got to get a stable platform, and for the conversations that have went on, it seems that they are a little bit more moderate than getting on the Umar Squad platform and all the jokes and giggling. And I think that a lot of things that they've been teaching is now being put in question. And so by it being put in question, then people are getting another view on what evolution is, because they only see the view that's out there that they're giving from the perspective of a white supremacy perspective, or a central perspective of what we call neo-Darwinism, social Darwinism. But they're not getting the opposing view of what really evolution is. Like they'll tell you, well, there is creationists, but what they don't tell you is these creationists are actual masters in biology and masters in different areas that deals with evolution, masters in all these different things. So that's my standpoint on it. Now they're being tested and things is out in the open. And so now what they're dealing with is in question, and is what they're dealing with the truth, basically.
Do you feel like they be kind of deflecting and running when they're faced with like the hard questions about evolution? Like, what's up with them? Do they kind of try to switch the subject, or try to blur the lines between what evolution is? To me, they be ducking and running. I'm just gonna keep it real. Like Uncle Cat and them, Roscoe, they be ducking and running when you ask them to explain what evolution is. Like, tell us what it is in the process. They be running, man. What's going on?
Right, and definitely, they duck, they run, they laugh, they giggle when it's time to be questioned about it. And when you ask them, what is the evolutionary process, or what are these stages of evolution, of macroevolution, of microevolution, of cosmic, chemical, stellar, all of these different areas of evolution. Where does this thing start? What is the origin of these things until we get to your model, which is what we call macroevolution, molecules over to man? What are these processes? When you ask them about these processes, what we find out is that we begin to see that they don't know these things. And when we find out the processes, then we start to see that it's more belief and a philosophy and actually a religion than anything. So the same guy that's calling himself the real black atheist, guys that say that they know what evolution is or the different diversities of evolution, are not explaining these things to the exact and giving the people the real version of evolution and what are the assumptions or what has been assumed behind it. Because an educated guess is still a guess, even though you took the educated measures to bring about the information. But at the end of the day, it still ends up as being an assumption or a guess, no matter how they try to define it.
But they're gonna say, "Oh, you just a rejection of science. This is the scientific consensus. Evolution is a fact. The Earth is millions of years old. They can see the process. I mean, they're gonna just say you're just being ignorant. I mean, what about the hominids and stuff like that? I mean, they say they got Neanderthal man, Australopithecine. These are all early humans. We're modern humans. So, in the fact that we got DNA that matches the ape by 98% or something like that. That's evidence right there. We share all that DNA.
Well, we always have to go back to the base of evolution, and it has to be the fossil record. The fossil record is what tells you the stages of evolution, or the amount of changes or mutations from one organism to the next organism, organism A to organism B. So we have to, and when we see these amount of changes, then on a molecular level, then we see that these mutation rates or these mutation rates that we see are basically something that has been assumed that it is calibrated back to the fossil record. So we always have to go back to the fossil record and then sedimentary rocks. And what that is rocks that's been laid down by erosions or basically by water. We say that most of it is laid down by water. So this is what the dating period is. So you got to look at the fossil record, which shows you from one fossil, so to speak, of these other fossils. Now, me personally, and not just personally, we have gotten information that these fossils are actually fake. A lot of these fossils have been faked and manipulated and put forth. Some of them have been basically put on. They have put her on these fossils. Different things, saying because of fleas or this different stuff for the sort of a matter. But really, these are things we just don't know. The fossil records are not actually records.
So they got a problem with the fossil record. They got a problem with explaining the process scientifically. What about time? Dating. They're saying it's millions of years old. Now, you know a little bit about dating. You saying that dates are wrong?
Right. It gets ridiculous with that, too, because when you talk about uniformity is the key to the past is what we see today. Well, on the contrary, that's not true. What happens is, in other words, to understand, they said that in other words, in order to understand the past, we can look at certain things today that we see that occurred as far as how formations take place, current rates of things, current rates of decay, and these different things determine what we see in the past. Now, the dating mechanism is just totally off because before, when they started dealing with sedimentary rock and dating certain catastrophic things and earthquakes and things that deal with geology, all of these different things, when they were doing these things, they had already dated these sedimentary rocks. They had already put a pre-assumption on these sedimentary rocks have been formed over millions of years as opposed to what they seem today, which is called uniformity. So later on, in about the 1940s, I believe around that time, that's when they about the 1940s, I believe around that time, that's when they came up with different ways, techniques on how to date. One of them was carbon dating, which deal with carbon atoms, basically. So when you start dealing with getting off into carbon atoms, we start seeing that there's certain carbons that are stable. You have your atom, then you have your nucleus, and you have your 6 neutrons within 6 protons and electrons, right? And so that's carbon. That you have what you call isotopes. Iso in the Greek means same, and topes mean place. So you're dealing with same place basically. So what that means is you have, like, for carbon, you have carbon 12. and you also have carbon 13 and carbon 14, right? Now, when you start dealing with carbon 12 is something that is stable. It does not decay. So then when you start dealing with carbon 13 is something that does not decay too, but carbon 13 has what you call more neutrons than carbon 12 does, so it's a little bit heavier. Now, when you talk about carbon 12, what carbon 12 means is that it's actually heavier than helium. I mean, not than helium, than hydrogen. It's 12 times the mass weight in hydrogen, basically. Hydrogen is the lightest element. Then you also have the highest, which is uranium. That's where you get uranium dating from and stuff like that. So when we start looking at these dating processes and we look at the breakdown of the atom, carbon 14 is unstable. It's radioactive. Now the rest I explained to you, carbon 12 and 13 are stable. Carbon 14, the weight is the mass weight of it is 14, and it's unstable. That's first thing. So it's radioactive. It's going to break down. So this is what we call basically these isotopes. The same place, same categories, just different carbons. Now, when you look at the dating thing, the dating mechanism, carbon dating organic material, living material. This is how they date. Anything that's organic, for us, leaves, trees, bark. If it's some type of bones, some type of organism that's living within certain bones, then that's how they date. So when you look at it, the problems with it is that you have to ask, what is the initial conditions? In other words, what was the initial conditions when you found this organic material?
Right. So the weather could have been different. The environment could have been different. Which is going to affect the decay rate.
Right. So that's what you call decay rate. It can be sped up because we can, like you said, what is the initial conditions? What was it contaminated? That's the first thing. And then also, was the decay rate, did it remain consistent? Now, only way we can know if it remained consistent if we was back there. So what they do to experiment on something, they go and they experiment on a closed environment. Well, we don't live in a closed environment. Unfortunately, we have random occurrences of things. So you can get in a closed environment and test out a decay rate, and that's fine. But in the past, we know that we had a lot of things that took place back then. So we look also as we talk about the dating carbon material, was it contaminated? One of the things that we find out is it can be contaminated with other elements, or it could have already been lead, because lead itself, when it breaks down from uranium, is also a part of one of those isotopes that is a state that got stable lead that do not break down. So then we deal with that problem, and so we see the decay processes are uniformity. In other words, they're based off of what we see consistent today and not in the past. When we know that the second law of thermodynamics states that there is not any conservative energy or energy to
everything is losing it.
It's losing everything. It's not keeping the power.
Right.
And so we know that things are degenerating. They're breaking down.
Right.
So because they're breaking down, we don't know if it's at a consistent rate. So the dating problem, there's a lot of problems. That's just one dating for us. Dating.
So we got inconsistencies in the fossil record, inconsistencies in dating, inconsistencies in. Does not Armor Rock Squad notice? Does not Team Osiris see this? What's up with? Why are they ignoring these things to push evolution? What is the problem with the Armor Rock Squad? What's the problem with Team Osiris? These are people who push evolution. And Gozi, I mean, they're not really together no more, but they still push evolution like it's a fact. What do you got to say to them? Are they ready for you? Are they ready to have a real conversation with LeBron G. Campbell, Kevin G., others, you know what I'm saying? Are they ready for y'all?
Right. And like I say, with all due respect to those brothers, but I think that, there's a lot of things that they're missing out on. They have some of the things, some of the key points, but then for us to date, like if you don't have a million years, you do not have your process of evolution, macro evolution on a larger scale. It's not going to work. So then when you get through, so I think that they're not presenting the right information and telling people the assumptions that have been assumed to put forth this philosophy or what they call this.
So they're religious. Would you say Team Osiris, Amara Squad, and a lot of these cats who push evolution, like Dr. Mon, are they religious? They believe in this. They can't really absolutely prove it.
Right, and I would say that Team Osiris, we know already Team Osiris is religious. They have no problem with saying they deal with spirituality, which deal with pantheism, which is almost a soft atheism, but it's still they still will tell you they deal with some type of form of spirituality. Now, in regards to Uncle Cat and the real black atheists, or those who are in the Amara Squad, or some of them, I'm not going to say all of them. The real black atheist is basically religious, but he claims not to be religious.
His religion is no religion. He's a non-religious fanatic.
Right. But evolution within itself and the processes of evolution is which is an unguided process through the processes of natural selection, is actually a belief and a philosophy and religion. And when you look behind it, because it states the origin of these things, and you must realize that a lot of these things are put forth with assumptions. Now, as far as what we believe about natural selection only selects from something that's already there. This do not explain the processes or the origin of all these things, of how they came about. It only gives you certain things what it selects from. It don't explain to you the molecular machines on how, or what we call irreducible complexity, or how these things was put together to form basically and cooperate with each other and exist with each other. Natural selection only explains to you what was being selected from. We need to understand what is the origin of these things.
Right. They like to say, well, evolution only deals with once you have biology on. They don't deal with before that. But let me say this. Why do you think they're scared to have do you have like these little conversations on the internet, but they don't seem to want to get live in front of a people and talk about evolution with a slideshow. Like Ankh and the Amara Scott, they never really had a debate live to speak to someone about this evolution. Are they scared? Or do they know that they're pumping bullshit? Are they scared to have a real conversation offline in front of the people? You know what I'm saying? Why Team Osiris and the Amara Squad and Dr. Maul and all that? They always say, well, the person's not qualified, but they won't have the conversation in front of the people.
Right. I think that for the most part, I know that, brother Uncle Cat.
Man, what's up with the commercial, man? This is ridiculous. What's up with that, man? That's ridiculous, man. I'm gonna have to do something about that.
Brother Uncle Cat is, and I love the brother, I talk to him personally, we talk a lot, but I know that he definitely does not hold that information as the people who he's surrounded by hold. Why they won't come forth, maybe it is because they don't want to be challenged, and they know that there is some flaws within that, I can even say, within that theology, or philosophy, but or religion. They know that there is some flaws within it. As far as Team Osiris, I've engaged with Team Osiris openly, about evolutionary theory, and they've tried to defend it. And I think that upon the conversation that you had with them, the debate you had with them.
By the way, who won the debate between Lex Vortex and Ngozi, man? Because Team Osiris says, honestly, who won that debate?
Well, I'm biased to that fact. So, I'm going to give it to you, especially that first debate. And, I'm biased to the fact because due to the fact of, that I'm a biblical believer and I believe in creation. And I think that I have to look at that and say, well, which I stated before. When I said, well, I'm biased to the fact. So I told them, you might not want to ask me because I'm going to tell you that, yes, Lex got it because I'm biased. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm a creationist and I don't really deal with that from the evolutionary standpoint. So I would have to just definitely say I'm going to ride with you because of the fact.
Well, I mean, if he would have presented information that was better than mine, you would have had to agree he won the debate, right?
Right. And so, see, here's the thing on the technicality on breaking down the things from a molecular level, as far as different DNA, how the body works, and how certain things function. He's very intelligent on that. I think he has you on that.
Right.
When it comes to social Darwinism and then the really base of evolution, then I think that you have a broader understanding of that because he knows the biology of it. He knows how everything works. He knows the genetics. He knows all of those things.
Sounds like it.
Okay. All right. Let me come up out of there. All right. So as y'all can see, slide on up out of there.
Is the white man the devil?
All right.
White.
Okay. So as y'all can see, went pretty good. I had a delay for a minute on that, but it bounced back in place. But it was delayed. But I'm pretty sure y'all was able to get what was going on. Now, as I stated before, I'm gonna state it now. I think that a lot of the brothers that's in the community that's teaching on the evolutionary theory do not give people the broader understanding of it, the ups and downs of it, and what's assumed and what hypotheses or educated guesses that basically have been taken in order to put forth the theory, the philosophy behind it. That's something that has not been explained to the people. It's just been given to the people as if it is an exact science. And so, we will be doing some more work on that. As you can see, we got Kevin G in the building, and he's a young, intelligent brother. So we definitely going to do some more work on it and bring you some more information. And just to hear brothers really break down the science on it is very, very, very great. I have no problem with Team Osiris nor the Armor Ra Squad. I just think that their viewpoints on evolutionary theory needs to be really expanded on, and also needs to be put up under the microscope, on the evolutionary theory process, especially the Armor Ra Squad. There's a lot of things that we've been manipulated on and manipulated on when it comes to the evolutionary theory process, or or natural selection. And so, the real black atheist, he takes a lot of the Egyptian or African deities or what we call African spirituality and says it's just basically dealing with elements and talking about the cosmos and different things of that matter. And some of that is true, but for the most part, there is something greater behind that. And the Egyptians and also the Africans were actually creationists. So he's actually taking African stories and mixing it with social Darwinism and also the beast system concepts and a lot of white supremacy concepts to justify, why people should be animal-like and who deserves to be dominant over the next people. Because this is really what's going on here. If I can naturally justify and give you an explanation for animal um, your animal characteristics, then you'll have those rights to preserve yourself, basically, because you're just an animal. You're nothing. You're not. You neglect that other side, the other side of you, the other portion of you. It is the essence of you, or that spirituality within you, or that consciousness within you. You neglect that, and so you just take on the animalistic ways and animal instincts. And, and just because you made from the same material doesn't make you like them. We're more intelligent than them. And so, a lot of things been done to bring about this evolutionary philosophy, and the dangers of this philosophy has caused a lot of damage to a lot of people in the past. And so if your kids are being taught that they are animals, or they've been defined as animals and just that, then they're going to live like animals. At one part of time, white supremacy told black people that they was monkeys before they even had before they was even dealing with evolution. So they was already psychologically getting people prepared. So then it's just out of nowhere they come with these uh, um, years later from racism. They come with these ape-like creatures that look just like these monkeys, and then define them as this and say that they're not monkeys, but they look just like them when they was already saying these things already. So you see how they got people psychologically damaged because this is the beast system. And the beast system not only consists of just Europeans, but also, other cultures of people just as well. Because if you look at the beast system within the Bible, it's made up of other cultures of people. And some of those animals are listed as, Babylon, Medes and Persian, the Greeks and the Romans. And then Egypt is also shortly after Babylon, or the Tower of Babel. And so they come after them, or they come after the Uruk cultures, or those cultures that was in the East, and they form after those, and they are a part of the Gentile system just as well. And so they form a kingdom this great, as well as after them the Assyrians, and then other empires. And these awesome today because they all have those certain aspects that the mystery Babylon religion that we see in Revelation chapter 17. All of them have drunken from the cup of mystery Babylon, the religion, or that Tower of Babel concept. And what happens is that, the human race wants to deify themselves over God. They want to be the ones with the intelligence and want to live on without God. And so that's what they have done. They have deified themselves basically over God to make their own way in their own path. So evolutionary theory has the same philosophy, the same thought process in it. It's to deify self rather than God by ways of means of natural processes and neglect God. That's why they teach natural selection. And natural selection is, as I stated before, it selects from something that's already there, but it never tells us what the origin of those things is or how the origin of those processes came about. It just gives us basically a view of processes now, but not the origin. And so when you start dealing with basically how men came about, they'll tell you from nothing. That's what they'll tell you, from nothing. But what they don't understand, everything always comes from information. Material is formed from information. It all comes from information. It all comes from conscious thought. Conscious thought arranges the very material world that you live in now. You know, that's why, and they know it. You know, even doctors teach this. Even psychologists teach this. How you think affects your material world, your realm. So as a man thinks, so is he. How you think affects your health. And also, your health can affect how you think. But at the same time, if your body died, you still exist outside of your body as energy, and you still attached to that consciousness. So you are conscious energy. So you can't escape that. So one thing that scientists have not been able to explain is a natural explanation of what the consciousness is. And those things that we can't measure, our ancestors said that it was the spirit. It was the essence that was inside of the vessel or the body. It was your W, your twin, your vital spark, your vital twin. In other words, what's in you basically is what's in your body is your essence. So you exist outside of the body when you leave that body. You exist in the body now, but when you leave that body, you exist outside of that body just as well. Your consciousness always exists. You are a conscious being. So, you know, and that's basically it. So it's a lot of things to be taught, a lot of things to learn. But for the most part, you're not going to trick me into believing that I'm just this being that's just made up by natural processes and neglect the consciousness that's within me, how I feel, my soul, my passions, my appetite.
It's just no evidence for it, man.
Right.
There's just no evidence for it. Um, like getting back to what you said earlier, those other dudes. I mean, if they just want to deal with science, then it's simple. You believe that what we see here in the material world came about by unguided materialistic cause. So if you're going to deal with science, you have to provide the evidence of what that material cause is. Okay? They cannot come up with that method. They can't show us materialistically how sequence information, such as we see in the DNA, can arrange itself to create anything as far as what we see is today. All life as we know it requires what's called a macromolecule, or what we call DNA, RNA, and those types of macromolecules. Now, where it gets even scarier is that if you just look at simply the materialistic cause for, let's say we're trying to explain materialistically how these things could have came about. Well, the nucleotides in the DNA basically are governed by the sequence that they're placed in. Yet the way those nucleotides are attached to the rib, whether it's RNA or DNA, is by the same chemical process, a sugar polymer. So my question to you, Laurent, if I'm sticking different pictures of art from a classroom on a wall using a push pen or glue, is it the glue or the push pen that can materialistically arrange how those pictures are arranged on the wall?
No, they can't.
They can't. Same with like letters on the fridge. I use this example too. If I spell out a sentence in letters on a refrigerator, now, is it the magnetism between the letter and the fridge that arrange them in the sentence that you can read them in? Because if we're saying that nature did that, then the magnetism gives no sequence, it gives no distinction between put the THE together to make the, put the BIBLE to make Bible. IS is, it can't spell anything because the magnetism is the same. If you had a blind process, you won't be able to put that information together. Therefore, the arrangement and sequence of the letters wasn't governed by the materialistic cause. That's just science. We see no physical evidence for it. Now we have these things like the RNA world hypothesis and things of that nature, but time and time again, we have not found these things. I had a brother tell me the other day something that science had not found, but he wanted to put forward and conject because he wanted his worldview to win. This brother actually told me that RNA molecules came in fully formed from space. And I said, brother, show me the article on that. The brother showed me the article. The article said the sugar molecule that might have been part of the recipe for RNA came in from space. And that's something they weren't even too certain on. So they were guessing, well, could it be that it might have came from outer space? See, so you even see scientists going from, oh, it was a condition on Earth that might have created life. And now they thinking, well, it had to come from outside of Earth. Now, if it was simple as just coming up inside of a pool or water or somewhere on Earth, which we know now because of science that RNA is extremely fragile, it's very delicate, it breaks down easily. If you put it in water, it's gone, it's done. So there's no way it could have accumulated and been there even long enough so for it to synthesize any type of protein or to create anything. Not even that, but a macromolecule can't do it on its own either. And these other mechanisms to actually build these things from the code, that's just the blueprint. You still need an architect. You still need construction workers. You still need a cat machine. You still need a crane. So what you're trying to do is you can't even give me the blueprint. You can't even give me that, let alone everything else that's required for that. So the main thing is this, though, Laurent. Why is it that we say or we think, then on the flip side is this, okay, fine. We can't give you the materialistic cause for how life could have came about. So how can you say that intelligence caused it? Well, I give you this. When you look at DNA, what do you see? I'm just asking you a question. What do you see? You see arranged information that's sequenced, that's used as a blueprint or a basis to create different mechanisms that build other machines and mechanisms to build things that are functional, working. These functions and these machines test things. They check for errors. They get rid of certain mechanisms if they don't work. They include new mechanisms if they do. So this is a totally closed system that does all of these things. Now, I will ask you, just based off of scientific observation, Laurent, what example do you see of such a complex, closed, sequence, detailed system other than what we see in life and biology in the human body? What other system does that?
Us. Oh,
Right.
man.
So the point is that based on what we see, the only I can make an inference to say, well, because we are intelligent, it is logical to assume that these things must have come from intelligent. And if not, then please provide how such a thing could arise materialistically. But right now, I'm giving you science as to say this is what we can observe and see. We see DNA building, creating, testing, error checking, correcting. We see human beings. We create, test, error check, create. We do all of that. So I think it's logical to assume that that had to arise from conscious thought.
Right.
And there's really, I really don't see any way else to explain it. Now, if they show tomorrow, okay, well, we found the materialistic cause, and here we can recreate it. It's an unguided process. In fact, you can do this at home. You can just put this, that, and the other in the cup, and then wait a couple of days and maybe you'll get this macromolecule or this arrangement or anything. They have nothing. They were not able to do that. No experiment yields any result that gives that nothing. They cannot do it. That's why you having these guys looking for other theories as to how life was placed on Earth. Some people have theories that it's been seeded on Earth, like another life came by and did it, the extraterrestrial theory. So if you want to talk about intelligent designers and say, "Oh, nah, that's Michael Behe and their attempt to try to put creationism and everything," no, it's scientists. This is the Gutenberg 16. There's scientists out there. There's other people proponents of intelligent design that are not even biblically based at all. You got people that are in Hinduism that looks at it. You got people who are atheists that are looking at possible mechanisms. In fact, I got a paper which I failed to bring in the house. But basically, this mathematician says that he wrote a paper. This thing is like 16 pages long, LeRon. And paraphrasing the title, he's basically saying how it's mathematically impossible for Darwinian mechanisms to arise from natural selection. It's mathematically impossible. It just would not work. So if we are going to sit here and try to bash people who say, "Well, I believe in intelligence caused it," think about it. Do you have any reason to doubt that? I bet you if you brought a child in a room, and I urge anybody to do this experiment, I yet to see one, but I think I would like to see one. My bad, LeRon. I don't mean to be long-winded. You want the mic back?
Oh no, you good, man.
I mean, I would like to see this experiment, whereas you grab a child or anyone just with simple, non-biased, unbiased understanding, place in front of them a script or a code, and explain to them how that code works. Well, here's the code. This is the syntax. Let's say the syntax we're using is C++. Please, people, I'm not trying to talk over your heads. I'm going to make this as simple as possible. You have syntax. Syntax is basically just saying what language you speak. Like one person uses Chinese syntax, whereas they read from right to left. Another person uses a Western English syntax where they read from left to right. You know what I'm saying? So there's these different syntaxes that they use. Then you say, okay, this a beginning of a sentence, LeRon, starts with an uppercase letter, correct?
Yes, sir.
Any proper noun uses an uppercase letter, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, a noun is a person, place, or thing. A verb is an action. We have adjectives, we have adverbs, and things of that nature. We have objects. We have all these different things. We have parts of a sentence or statements. We have exclamation points. We have commas that divide points. We have semicolons that divide points. We have apostrophes. We have quotes. We have periods. We have all these different things within the structure of the syntax, or if you have an end or a close or whatever, that tell you where to stop, where to look at information, where to loop, and where to run information. Now, I'll give you a string of DNA code, right? I give you an RNA molecule. Now, when the pre-mRNA comes out of the nucleotide, and basically what this is to illustrate it easier for you guys, imagine a man saying, you know what? I need to build a wall, so I'm going to go to the library to get a book on how to build a wall. So the man walks into the library. That's the pre-mRNA strand going in to get the encoding. He goes in there, he grabs a book from the library. This is the nucleotide. And he puts it on a copying machine and makes copies of the pages that he needs to make a brick and mortar wall. He takes the library book, he returns it back to the reference section of the library. He takes his copies and he leaves the library. This is what happens in the cell. The pre-mRNA strand goes in, it takes a copy or the encoding of the reverse side of a DNA part that tells him how to build a certain protein. He makes copies, just like you would in the library. It leaves out of the library. In this case, we call it the nucleus. It goes into what's called the endodermic rough. It goes from there. It says, okay, guys, this is what I want to build. Can you guys straighten this out for me? So what this mechanism does, it goes through, and it's like a man saying, well, you have this page and that page. That's just the preface, and this is the table of contents, so you don't need that. Here's the page numbers that you want to look at. I'm gonna highlight these sections that you need, and this is what you need going out. This is what the endodermic rough does. It actually looks at it. It's a process it calls CPSF, which is cleavage polyhydranylation specificity factor. And what this does is it actually looks for parts of the code, which that where the message begins, where it says, okay, this is where we can begin to process the information, and this is where the message ends. So it tags it with an AAUAAA, which is basically a simple tag of adenine, adenine, uracil, adenine, 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 to say, okay, this is where message stop. So it's similar to, as I explained earlier, Laurent, that when you read a sentence, you see a period, you know to stop, and that there's a new statement being made or a continuing point that's being made in the next sentence. So it looks for these things, such as an uppercase letter and a period, and feeds those things off. Once it feeds those things off, it's not done yet. It still has to go in and look for the coding parts and the non-coding parts, the introns and the extrons. And once it gets those, it gets rid of the non-coding sections. It puts the coding sections together. It tags both ends of the information saying it's ready for production, and it goes out to the Golgi apparatus. Once it goes out to the Golgi apparatus, is then read, and a ribosome goes in and actually connects and creates the protein based on the refined instruction, error checking and double checking that was already done in the previous two steps of the process. So if you were to explain that to a child and they say, wow, okay, and then you ask them, what does this sound like to you? Where do you think this process might have came from? 9 times out of 10, I would like to make this prediction, and I would like to see somebody actually do the experiment. They're going to say that it came from a human. They're going to say somebody came up with that. Somebody created that. Then you ask them, do you think, honestly, unbiased, not being religious or swaying to any type of philosophy and science, but would you say that this is something that could arise by itself? I highly doubt they're going to say yes,
Right.
just off that common sense alone. I doubt it. And I'm sure a lot of you, if you really believe that that process took place, then please show the evidence for it. How could that thing could have arisen automatically on its own?
Right.
You just don't have the information. You just don't know. And if
Yeah.
you know, then why are there so many competing ideas on it? Why don't they have the answer for it? They can't explain it. But the only real world example we see of that occurring, of that type of process, what we do, it's it's by conscious thought. It's by intelligence. So I mean,
Yeah, but
that's all there is to it, man.
yeah, man. So with that being said, yeah, I know it's 12 o'clock, so it's time for me to pick this load up so I can go on and get rolling. So I'm gonna have to stop this live broadcast. Appreciate you, brother Kevin G, for coming by. It's always a privilege to have you. As y'all can see, we will be working on some stuff, bringing some stuff together, and putting some information out there to contest, the evolutionary theory model that a lot of these guys been putting out there. That is, has to be explained to the fullest. We're not against science. We're just putting science back in its proper perspective, and where it should be at. And science and also religion is something that always work together, whether we like it or not. It was always there. In order for us to understand the things that was unseen, we dabbled into the things that was seen, that showed us the things that was out there that could not be measured, but still uh, we know it's there. So, I think that for the most part, it's clear that, you know, this is something that must be viewed and looked at, explained to its entirety. So with that being said, I just want to make peace and blessings to those that listened in. We thank y'all. We appreciate you, and also make sure y'all click and subscribe. I know it's late. It's 12 a.m. over here and 1 a.m. on the east. But we up out of here. Peace.
Peace.